Okay, you guys, we are back with another episode of Divine Interventions 13 featuring myself, RX, and the lovely
Sistar Outspoken.
Yes, and we are here today to talk about an amazing topic that people are always like, ooh, that's so taboo, ooh, that's so bad. Well, we here to clear up all of that, okay? We're talking about witch history, okay?
Yes.
We about to get right into it. Let's go.
The word witch is thrown around so loosely.
With a negative connotation.
Yes.
A very negative connotation. They used to kill people for, like, being a witch. You know what I'm saying? Like
King James was known as the witch hunting king. And in the 16th century, went on a rampage, killing people who even thought might be witches.
They would have killed my ass.
Yeah, definitely.
They would have burned me at the stake.
Definitely. Because like, if you're doing anything that is, right now it could have just been holistic healing. You know
exactly.
What I mean?
Like, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doing remedies and doing things that heal people.
Mm-hmm.
Original witches were healers.
Mm-hmm.
And if we want to talk about the original, before we even get there, let's go back to King James.
Yeah.
Because that's a big part of the negative connotations that came with witches.
Right.
Because it started to, at least on Western civilization.
Right. And you see how his influence still affects us today, and that was back like hundreds of years ago?
Yeah.
Like, that influence is still very strong and very heavy till this day.
Yeah.
Like, that's like crazy.
People look at witches as some dark force in the night that needs to be burned alive. That's what they were doing to people.
Oh, yeah.
They were doing it to women. They were finding women, and if they even thought anything, they were burning them at the stake. They were hanging them, and hundreds of women got killed over a whole time period.
Right.
So let's get deeper into that.
Yes.
Because that programming not only stuck with a lot of people, but makes it hard for a lot of people practicing occult, practicing holistic healing, practicing certain things that are magical.
Your Wiccans.
Yeah.
Yeah, even like people that are just like herbalists.
Yeah.
In like rural areas of like other countries.
Yeah, it gets called black magic.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly.
So when we get to talking about African spirituality and African spiritual science, it's very easily gets a negative connotation. Because you already were programmed with black magic. And then you look at these people and you're calling them witch doctors. That's not even of their language. The word witch or doctor is not an African language. It's not any of the indigenous people's language. That's English. That's European. That's not our terms.
Right.
That's somebody who went somewhere who saw that people were healing people and was like, okay, they're doctors. And then saw that it was magical and was like, okay, they're witches. They're witch doctors. Those not our terms. In India, they're called shamans, In parts of Africa, which you know of, we got babalawos. There are a lot of different names and a lot of different cultures for what you think of as witches or people that do magic. But in our understanding, it originated, they are healers.
Right.
They are healers. Even when you think of voodoo, and you think of those as witches and evil and all of that, voodoo itself, that's a programming. Because voodoo itself is a religion. And it's not an evil religion.
Right.
It is the same thing in helping you connect with a higher power. Now, is this some people out there who utilize different aspects of things?
Yeah, because honestly, everything has like a yin and a yang. There's the good side to it and there's a not so good side to it. So some people probably do tap into the dark side of whatever. I mean, people tapped into the dark side of Christianity, and that's where we got the Christian Crusades.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
And Satanism.
Yeah,
that's the evil Christianity.
Right. So you can tap into the negative or the positive side of anything, but just because someone is doing like magical work, it doesn't make them this scary witch and oh my God, they ride on a broomstick at nighttime and all this crazy stuff. That,
just like people have positive,
just like
people have positive and negative energy. It exists in everything.
A battery has a positive and a negative side.
Exactly. That creates a balance. But there are things that exist in this world that science hasn't even uncovered yet. So I was just, we were just talking, and hypnotism was one of them. That was a part of the occult.
Right. Until
science said, you know what, we're going to claim this.
Right.
And make this a part of our shit.
Right. Now it's like normal.
So now it's like normal, and it's not taboo anymore.
But for all those hundreds of years, it was occult and it was bad. Thousands. And if you do it, then we're going to kill you. We're going to burn you at the stake and all these other things. But now all of a sudden, let's wave our magic wand and say that it's okay now.
Right.
Hypnosis is okay now because, the scientists said that it is. But if you look at science, they still debating whether we have a soul or not. So it's like, how accurate is that?
Exactly.
Like, that's crazy.
Exactly. Of course so there's some things that you can't look to science for. Because science is something documented and observed over time. And that's a choice of what people decide to document and observe over time.
Right.
And when you are a spiritual person or a healer, you're not going to be just worried about one point to make and focusing your entire life on it. Because that's how things get respected in science. Yeah, as you have one person that say, I want to make this point in every day of their life.
Right.
They dedicate to making that one point.
To prove that point and to test it and prove it across many different denominations and different places.
So that when they die, their documentation can be utilized in a case. It first off, at the end of their whole life, it can still only be considered a theory. To be utilized in a case against skeptics. We ain't got time for that shit. We trying to live and heal and grow and use our magic.
Right now.
Every day. We ain't got time to be putting our life to prove it to you. But our ancestors got it right the first time. But what happened is, just like anything else, when our people were colonized, when things were taken from us, it gets diluted. It's diluted, and it's things added to it. Because now you have witches.
Yeah.
And now every time you see a cartoon or a movie, it's witches with the hats and the little skulls
and the pointy nose with the words.
Yeah.
And stuff. Oh my God.
They completely took our ancestry and our background and then just did some whole bullshit with it.
They demonized it.
They demonized
our culture and our history. And I'm so sad to say this, but it's even like are people who look at that kind of stuff and be like, oh, that's bad.
That's evil. That's dark.
You're going to go to hell if you do any of that kind of stuff. And it's like, oh my God, like we have to reclaim our history. We have to reclaim our culture. We have to reclaim our roots and who we are and where we come from. We have to reclaim those things so that way nobody could tell us that it's wrong, that it's evil. Don't do it. Don't practice that. Here you go. Take this Bible and do some Hail Marys. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
and the only facts are the ones that we approve our facts.
We gotta let that go, y'all. We gotta let that go.
Our ancestors got it right the first time. They understood the movement of energy, of transmutating energy, of how everything lives, and so you can move it and utilize it. And they understood those things before they had thousands of years to document it and read it out of a book. We got it right the first time.
Right.
And we have to believe in that. We have to understand that and be the best of our ability. Otherwise, we're sitting here and we're devolving while they evolve technology to do the things that we have the ability to do. We're out here scared, not able to heal ourselves, getting injected with shit in hopes that it's going to help us because we're not teaching ourselves or passing down certain knowledge of our ancestors, or we're afraid of our own magic because it's evil. Getting injected with shit after they already killed a bunch of people during our history, injecting them with shit, it's not evil though.
Tuskegee.
How about they gave the Africans AIDS?
I was just going to say that, not only that, but how about all the villages in Africa that they were given those recent vaccines to, and all those little girls were, like, crippled. There was, like schools in, like, India and Africa and other, like, rural, like, very, poor places. Very, very unfortunate circumstances for these people, and they pretty much used them all as guinea pigs. And they maimed a lot of these people. They killed a lot of these people.
The track record doesn't add up.
And to me, that's witchcraft. to me, that's evil witch work, because the RX symbol is actually a witch symbol in itself. Like, if you look at the history of it and what it is and where it came from. So whenever you see that RX, they think, oh, the doctor, are they going to heal me? Like, you don't know that. You don't know that. You a whole guinea pig out here.
You a whole guinea pig out here. So we have to take back our understandings of how we naturally did things. Because everything we're discussing is natural.
Right, absolutely. It's all from the earth. It's all from the earth. We are from the earth. The practices that we utilize are from the earth. That doesn't make it evil or bad. Is the earth bad and evil? No, it's not.
Even when we're talking, they even, like, I was talking to a Christian woman one time, and I brought up something to do with astrology. And she was talking about dark magic and some witch shit. And it was like, what?
I hate that.
And I want to talk a little bit about that, because our ancestors understood astrology.
Yeah, exactly.
A long time ago.
Astrology as well as astronomy. And why do you think that the pyramids are in perfect alignment with certain constellations and stuff like that? Like all that stuff is astrology.
Like, it's like common sense. It's like the earth is alive, correct?
Absolutely.
They've proven that in science. So we can utilize that in this conversation. The earth is alive. It has energy.
Yes.
We all are alive. We have energy. When we move or when we get closer to each other, our magnetic fields affect each other. If this big ass planet has a magnetic field as well, and it's moving, that magnetic field is going to affect the next planet and the next planet, and all
galaxy.
Of that and all of that is going to affect us.
Absolutely.
So it's not evil to pay attention to that
at all.
To where energy is doing.
It's more like a roadmap, if anything.
Yeah,
it's like a map. You use the stars as a map. People have done that in history. Like, follow the North Star. Like, is that evil? No, it's not evil.
No.
Like, it's not evil at all, actually. Oh, my God.
So I want to read something to you guys.
Yes.
Because we're going to keep this to the point, you know. We gave you some good information so far. So I want to read this to you. This is in my magic herbalism book. And I like just straight to the point something they said about magic, to kind of give you a little small understanding of it. And they say, magic is, despite claims to the contrary, a very natural art. It is the use of powers that reside within us and the natural objects of our world to cause change. And magical herbalism is the use of herbs for magic. So that's just for this particularly. But there are different things that you can utilize that hold power.
Yes.
And you do magic. And what is magic? Just creating change with energy. Period.
Things from the earth.
Being conscious of what the earth and what everything that is alive can do. Period. The seen and unseen. Just like Reiki.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know,
energy healing work.
Energy healing. Like, Reiki is something that people be like, oh, no, that's woo-woo. Or, like, that's not real. Or this and that. Like, how... I don't understand, like, some people's mental state. Because especially if you're, like, super scientific, it's like, okay, if you're super scientific, look at what's already been given. You know? It's already a fact that we operate on frequency. That we are energy. Like, the body that we live in, like, it's not physical. Like, it's not really hard. Like, this is not that. Like, if you put, science has the technology to look at it under a microscope, and everything's moving. Everything is in compact layers living. Like, this is its own world.
It's like vibrating.
Yeah.
At like a certain frequency.
Yeah. And our magnetic field is keeping it together.
A rock is vibrating.
It's alive.
Like, it's not just sitting there. Like, it's actually, like, vibrating at a certain frequency.
Right.
Like, anything that's alive and that's living is vibrating at a frequency.
So why is it so far-fetched that you can connect with your frequency or other frequencies and help it move or tune to heal? Like, that's not even far-fetched. That's like, okay, that makes sense.
Right.
With all the information that's being provided by science, it makes sense at this point. You know, like, thank you to science. You know, I'm not mad at science. I'm not.
Right. Not all the time, at least.
Right. It's just that you cannot just, it doesn't give you everything.
Yeah, I feel like it's, like, limited, and they, like, I don't know. I don't mind science so much. I feel like we do rely on science a lot in different aspects.
Yeah.
However,
it's
we have to also
important.
look outside of that sometimes.
Yeah. You cannot you cannot be dependent.
Right.
Because it's limited.
Right. Exactly.
It's limited. It's only as limited as how much somebody chose to care about one thing. Mm-hmm. That's science limitations. Mm-hmm. Period. Because then you can even get to a certain point to where, okay, if I want to go deeper into this subject, I have to create a whole device to be able to monitor it. But we are thankful when you do, because I was watching a study at and this meditation can be seen as magic sometimes. I was watching a study on monks at a university, and where science was beautiful is because they created this. It was like this room. It was this room, and then they had these computers, and what the room did is detect, temperature. Okay. Right. Mm-hmm. And you know how there's these devices where they can see your body temperature.
Yeah, like your aura and all that.
Right. Your aura.
It's like different colors.
Right. So when it's hot, it's like orange and stuff, and when it's cold, it's like blue
and yellow. And,
right. Yeah. So what they did is they put these monks in this room and had them meditate. And I forgot how long it was, but they let them go into a deep meditation. And then they heated the room up to where the average person would have died. And they saw, and you could see the monk's body start to cool and create a cool aura around him. He was able to be so in tune to his own energy that he was able to control it and cool it down. Because the reason we even secrete sweat is to help us cool down. Right. So imagine if we can control those things. So then they froze the room to where a person would die. And he created heat. Now, if you are like a more ignorant person or somebody who has just not made it this far, I'm not going to just call everybody ignorant because maybe you want this information, or maybe you just haven't, not conscious of this realm of existence, right? Of these things. You might think that could have been black magic. You could have looked at that and been like, oh, he's doing some evil shit. No.
Or the devil helped him.
The devil helped him, right.
The devil did
right, he was possessed.
Yeah. Oh, I hate it so much.
No. He was in tune. He was utilizing his abilities, the things that we did before we had all these devices.
But you know what I think that it honestly is, though, Jazz? I really honestly feel like people always want to look to an outside source to help themselves. They don't want to tap into their own power. I feel like people are afraid to tap into their own power
because it is a spooky process. It's a spooky process going from
it could be
from a interesting conversation to really thinking about, can I do that? No, like it's freaky.
Yeah, it could be like scary, I guess, at first, but it's like we have to evolve ourselves in our minds and our spirits so that way we can look at that as being normal. Because that's normal.
Because it's like normal in its most basic sense. Right. It's not normal for us to not be doing these things. Like, we're not healthy. We are devolving. We're supposed to be doing stuff like that. It's a negative connotation, or like it's woo-woo with the conversation of telepathy, right? And what is telepathy?
Telepathy is like transferring your thoughts to someone else's mind, and like to me, that's not crazy at all. Like you talk about that's like the average person, and that's like all you doing.
Let's talk about the science behind it, right? So for you to transfer your thoughts, right, that means that your brain waves will need to be able to connect with another person's brain waves, right? And it's already been proven that every thought that we have creates a brainwave.
Yes, absolutely. A vibration.
Right.
Yeah.
It creates a frequency. Something pops out. Electrical current.
Yeah.
Right?
Everything vibrates out. It starts within and it vibrates out.
So for some reason, there's no possibility that our electrical currents can travel to another person's right next to them. Even though we always have situations where we're thinking a thought and somebody says it.
Right.
We finish their sentence. That's just coincidence. But what's not coincidence is you can create a device that sends out waves and electrical currents. And it has to go all the way to a satellite or a freaking tower to send out another waves to connect to another device so that you can talk.
Right.
Or get a message.
Right.
Telephone.
Mm-hmm.
So you cool understanding the science behind telephone, but not your telepathy.
Yeah.
We have to understand that our sciences and our abilities and our archetype is powerful.
Yes.
And not dependent on its mimics.
Mm-hmm.
We have a supercomputer that already does all of these things that science has proven.
Yes.
But
absolutely.
then when it comes to us actually wanting to utilize it,
that.
they're like, oh wait, no.
You can't
No, it's not that supercomputer. It's not that good. Hold up.
Yeah.
Use this instead. Let it do it for you.
Take this iPhone.
Right.
Take this Obama phone.
Right.
No, but on dang, I forgot what I was watching. I was watching something recently, and they were talking about how in Japan they're creating these devices where people are able to turn things on with like a thought. And language is no barrier. There's no such thing as language with vibration, because vibration is vibration no matter what language you speak. Mm-hmm. And they're able to turn on the lights, like tell like their little computer vacuum to like vacuum up the house just from their thoughts alone. This is actually taking place right now in Japan.
So they're utilizing telepathy.
Yes.
To connect with devices. But told you that telepathy wasn't real, so you didn't do it without the devices.
Right.
Why are we so okay with being controlled and not evolving and not being our full selves? We are powerful, mystical beings.
Or we're comfortable watching it on a movie and saying, "Oh, that movie is so cool," but not knowing like we can actually do that. Like one of the movies I want to point out is X-Men Apocalypse. And that's like one of my favorite movies. I don't like watching movies like that, but I will watch that movie like 10 times a day.
That's why I like Doctor Strange.
Yeah, like all that stuff is like real. Mm-hmm. But in that movie, it's like one of the girls, she's able to like send thoughts back and forth with like Professor X. Like she's able to like send him thoughts, he'll like send her thoughts, and it's like that's normal. Mm-hmm. It's not just like a movie and oh, it's so cool, it's a movie. That's all it is just fiction. No, like we can really tap into these things.
I'm gonna give you guys an exercise that I used to do with one of my friends. And it's not going to officially make you a witch or all is not a spell I'm going to put on you. But anywho, this is an exercise you can do for telepathy, since we're talking about telepathy. Mm-hmm. You get with a friend and you go back and forth being the giver and the receiver. What you do is you get some cards, you write things down. You can do like colors or a number and just start simple, like 1 through 10 or just colors, right? Mm-hmm. And you pick a card and you look at it. And then make sure the other person cannot see it. If you're the giver, you make sure the other person cannot see it. The receiver cannot see it. And then all you do, you close your eyes or you look at each other. And you send the thought. You send the thought, send the thought, send the thought. And then they guess what the thought was. And you see how many you get right. It's practice. Mm-hmm. It's training. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get all of them right at first. Just with anything. But imagine if you start doing this with your children young. Mm-hmm. If we knew these things when we were young.
Yeah, that's what it's about, us getting this information. Because I wasn't taught this growing up. I had to learn this as an adult. But I have children now. So it's about you getting the information and passing it down to the next generation to strengthen the next generation that's coming up behind us. Like, that right there is one of the key components to evolving and growing as, like, the human species, is to take all that you learn and pass it down to the next generation, undoubtedly.
Yes. So let's just do that, you guys. And next time you hear the word witch, don't think of it as a negative thing.
Right.
Don't think of it as a negative thing. And I really want to challenge you guys to look into the cultures that you reside with or that you resonate with. If you are Black and you reside with Africa, go find those healers, those spiritual people, see what they were called. You know, if you are Mexican, you know, what is it, bruja?
Yeah, go study brujeria. You know what I'm saying? Like, look back at like the history of that. And if you're from other countries, like Latin Caribbean countries, if you're from Cuba, there's like a whole extensive history behind the Santeria that's done there. In Brazil, it's like different spiritual systems there, like the Dominican Republic and all these different things. And I feel like with a lot of that stuff, it's been like, if you look at it for its history, it all came from Africa. That's where it came from. And the culture was taken to those continents, and they had to actually disguise it and mix it in with like Catholicism. So they would have like their orishas that they would worship, but they would have to disguise it as one of the saints
and stuff like that.
Yeah, so they would have to like mix it in different ways. Like the history is just completely amazing on it. But at the end of the day, they're all doing the same type of work, which is magical work, spiritual work. Like I know whenever like the moon gets full, I go online. I'm like, oh, okay, guys, it's time to do some brujeria. Like I don't mean I'm about to go out and ride on a fucking broom and go do something crazy. Like no, like I'm doing spiritual work. Like I'm burning Palo Santo. I'm burning my sage. I'm saying prayers. I'm doing chanting. I'm attracting positive things to myself.
Doing your rituals to make change.
To make positive change into my life and to manifest what I want in my life and to take out the things that I don't want in my life. And that right there is what that is for me. For somebody else, it might be something different, but for me, that's what it is. And it's not always a negative connotation attached to that. Some people just look at it like, oh, that's so bad. Oh, you're a witch. You're a witch. And, like, I don't care if you call me a witch because I know what the fuck I am. Like, you're not going to tell me what I am. Right. I know what I am. I'm going to tell you who I am. I want to show you, period. So, to me, it's like you have to know the history of different things. Don't just look at a movie and let that right there dictate your idea of, different things about life, whatever.
Right.
Look into the history of it. Where did it come from, and why is it portrayed in a negative light in Hollywood movies? Like, what are they trying to get you to?
Why do they want you to be afraid of this?
Right.
That's what you need to ask yourself.
Right.
Because it's not scary. Yeah. The only thing scary is just the thought that you are limitless. That is the scariest part. And we just got to help people do better. Absolutely. And it all starts with information and knowledge. And right now, we are living in 2021. We are in the age of information. Yes. In the age of knowledge where you can read a book. You can go online. You can look up things on YouTube, on Google. We have so many resources that we're able to utilize today to learn more and to grow our minds. So definitely try to just look into what we're talking about today. If you're interested in more information, more knowledge, reach out to us. We always respond back to everybody. We definitely do. We love that you guys are even here and even interested because we're not claiming to be the know-it-all. No. We're not claiming to be masters. We'll always be students too. But we can grow together. Yes. And if we know a little bit more than where you're starting out in your journey, come on. Yes. Each one teach one. Exactly. Yeah, we always reach back and pull the next person up because there's always people who I go to that teach me different things. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So thank you guys for even tuning in and even caring about your growth this much to even listen in. And if there's any questions you have or anything more you might want us to elaborate on, let us know and we'll do that. Absolutely. Okay. Peace and love. Peace, love, and light. Yes.